بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We continue our reading from the 40 principles of the religion, Al-Arba في أصول الدين. And today inshallah we'll be reading about the zakah and charity, zakah and sadaqah. And this is the second principle in the outer actions, but will be the 12th principle, counting through from the very beginning. Imam Al-Ghazali begins this principle by mentioning a very beautiful verse in the Quran about spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء. The likeness of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is the likeness of a seed from which 7 ears grow. Each ear has 100 seeds. Allah multiplies for whomever He wills. Just like we know very well that a good deed will be multiplied to 10 times. الحسنة بعشر أمثالها. But here we already have up to 700 folds will be multiplied, but it does not end there. والله يضاعف لمن يشاء. It could be still multiplied much more. But it's about those who spend for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah. And of course it means all the things that help the society at large. It could be education, it could be medicine, it could be infrastructure in the society. People need to understand all that which the society needs, eradicating poverty, eradicating disease. It depends where one lives. I very much like the fatwa that said if someone is barren, cannot have children, and so a married couple that cannot have children on their own, and they need in vitro fertilization, and they don't have the money, the fatwa said that they can get money from zakah, not only sadaqah, because really it's one of the aims of the Sharia. Subhanallah, and that's it's an amazing fatwa at any rate. Then he follows this verse by a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, most are destroyed except he who has proclaimed such and such through giving his wealth. Proclaim such and such. In fact, in Arabic, we have, I think this is part of the hadith. Okay. هلك الأكثرون إلا من قال بالمال هكذا وهكذا. Okay. The whole hadith is that Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that he went with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ha'it. Really is the meaning is ha'it is bustan. It's a garden, but it could be like an orchid. It could be uh, a piece of land with fruit trees or what have you. Usually with the, I would say that usually with a wall. فقال the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, oh Abu Huraira, and then he mentions this part: هلك الأكثرون إلى من قال هكذا وهكذا. Most are destroyed except he who has proclaimed, he or she, of course, who has proclaimed such and such, like spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, left and right, هكذا وهكذا, covering every need in the society, and they are few. وقليل ما هم. Now وقليل ما هم, that's not mentioned in the text of the hadith here, in the second principle, but it's nice to know. And then he walked to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet said again, would you like to that I will show you, teach you about a treasure from the treasures of paradise? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Do say لا حول ولا قوة بالله. There is no strength, power, will except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he said, oh Abu Huraira, do you know what's the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over his slaves, the creation? I said, God know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger know best. He said, حقه أن يعبدوه ولا يشركوا به شيئا. His right is to be worshipped and not to associate anything with him. Then he said, do you know what's the right of the slaves, of the believers over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Like what basically their right, in a right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed upon himself subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإن حقهم على الله إذا فعلوا ذلك ألا يعذبهم. It is their right that if they do worship him and without associating anything with him, that he will not torture them. Abu Hurairah said, don't I tell basically the community of believers? He said, دعهم فليعملوا. Leave them without this knowledge, so that they will strive in their life towards that end, towards paradise, towards acceptance by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the commentary of Imam Al-Ghazali: know that spending wealth for charity is one of the pillars of the religion. The secret of accountability for one's wealth, which is according to the amount connected with the welfare of countries and people, and warding off need and poverty, is that wealth is loved by the creation, whereas they are commanded to love Allah. فاعلم أن إنفاق المال في الخيرات أحد أركان الدين، وإنما سر التكليف به بعدما يرتبط به من مصالح البلاد والعباد وسد الخلات والفاقات أن المال محبوب الخلق، وهم أمرهم بحب الله، ويدعون الحب بنفس الإيمان، فجعل بذل المال معيارا لحبهم وامتحان لصدقهم في دعواهم. So they love wealth, they love money, they love property, while they are demanded to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are commanded, really. قل إن كنتم تحبوا الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله. يحبهم ويحبونه. In professing faith, they proclaim that their love for him, hence giving of their wealth, was made into a gauge for their love. It's a criterion and a test of the truthfulness of their claim. Indeed, all beloved things are sacrificed for the sake of that greatest of loves in a person's heart, In this regard, people are divided into three levels. Indeed, even not only between the slave and his lord, it's a test. In fact, whatever good came your way, whatever grace, whatever gift from Allah subhanahu, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you always 100% and you are required to give away 2.5% when you have had the money for a whole lunar year without needing that and reaching basically the zakatable amount, okay, which is the equivalent to about 81 grams of gold. But it's also a test amongst people. Money is a test. A test, also a criterion. Like if you claim love to your spouse and you don't really give her even the minimum allowance, not only 1 year, not 10 years. If the lady who spoke to me is, if she said the truth, then we talk about 50 years, and she's really patient. And her husband has an income, is considered a high income, even in an expensive city like Jerusalem. He has about almost $6,000 a month, but he deprives her of even of the minimum allowance, if you will, whatever that means. That's sad, really. That's sad. That's sad. And I know of another man who spoke about his wife. Doesn't she eat? And like, is that what it is? So she was really hungry when she lived with her parents, and this is why she got married, because she would like a place where she could eat. Subhanallah. The first level of these three levels, the strong, those who spend everything they own and save nothing for themselves. These people are truthful about the love that they promised to Allah. Such was the case of Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he came with all of his wealth, to which Allah's messengers radiallahu anhu, to which Allah's messenger alayhi salam said, "What have you left for your family?" He replied, "Allah and His Messenger." He also said to Umar radiallahu anhu, "What have you left for your family?" He replied, "The like of what I came with," because he brought half of his wealth. Then Allah's messenger said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, "The difference between the two of you is the same as the difference between your two statements." Okay. Now the hadith, really, the first part. Okay. The first part. ماذا أبقيت لأهلك؟ meaning to أبو بكر الصديق، فقال الله ورسوله. وقال عمر رضي الله عنه: ماذا أبقيت لأهلك؟ قال مثله، أي مثل ما أتيت به. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: بينكم مثل ما بين كلمتيكما. The first part, all the way that Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه brought all his wealth. Sayyidina Umar brought half his wealth. And the Prophet ﷺ asking both, "What did you leave to your family?" This is one part of the hadith that has been narrated by Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi. And the second part, بينكم مثل ما بين كلمتيكما, between between both of you, like the difference between your two statements. This part is mursal. Wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala wa alam, meaning that it's mursal, not marfu, in the sense of that part, even it's a different narrator. Okay. And the narrator, it stops with the companion without saying that the Prophet ﷺ said. Wallahu alam, at any rate. So these people are truthful about the love that they promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such as was the case of Bakr radiallahu anhu. Then the second level, the moderates. Okay. The moderates, the al-mutawassitun. Al-mutawassitun. Those who are, they are between the strong and the weak. They are mutawassit. But I'm simply entertaining the idea of the word moderate because the use today is it is juxtaposed against extremism, if you will. So it's the antithesis of extremism. Those who are in the middle, the mutawassat, those who fall in between, in the middle. And of course, none of this is, everything should be contextualized. So the second level, the moderates, those who are not able to remove their hands from wealth in one gesture. However, they do not keep it for the sake of luxurious living. Rather, they keep it in case of a needy person's plea. They are content with an amount that enables them to worship. And when another's need is evident, they hurry to fulfill that need. They do not limit their giving to the required amount of zakah, so they will go beyond and above the 2.5%. And when we say 2.5%, we talk about cash money. We don't talk about other sources of income, like cattle, for example. If you own camels and cows and sheep and whatever. And number two, if we talk about, let's say, wheat, when it's harvested, and you talk about a zakatable quantity, then it is, and it has not been irrigated. Nobody irrigates wheat anyhow. I'm trying to explain. Then it is 10%, the teeth. Okay, if it's something that was irrigated, then it is half that amount, so 5%, نصف العشر, if you will. So they do not limit their giving to the required amount of zakah. Their primary goal in abstaining from spending on themselves is to wait for another's need and fulfill it. The third level, the weak, those who limit their giving to paying only the required zakah, nothing more, nothing less. These are the degrees of giving. Everyone gives according to the degree of his or her love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do not see you as being able to give at the first or second level. Therefore, persevere until you get past the third level and reach the lowest level of intermediate giving. Slowly yet gradually increase your giving in excess of the requirement, for sufficing with merely what is required is the definition of a miser. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَسْأَلْكُمُوهَا فيحفكم تبخلوا. If he were to ask you for it, meaning your wealth, and press you, you would withhold. You will not really pay. And then in the Arabic text, the whole verse إن يسألكموها فيحفكم تبخلوا ويخرج أضغانكم أي يستقصي عليكم فتبخلوا. That is, he probes you for it and you are stingy. Therefore persevere and do not let a day go by without giving something beyond what is required, even a slice of bread. Even a slice of bread. And I love it when we talk about the exact Arabic word, not to point anything except when it says ولو بكسرة خبز. You know very well, if you know Arabic, that كسر يكسر مكسور, that we talk about breaking something, and you don't get the same sense. I mean, it depends whether one knows the etymology of the word. So it's not شريحة خبز in Arabic, so that you would translate it into slice of bread in English. كسرة خبز, almost as if you are talking, you break the loaf of bread. It would be dry, and you give charity a broken piece of that loaf. A broken piece. It could be something that remained, it was not eaten, but the idea is kisra. So even if it's not the same. It's not fresh. It's not. But for the poor, for the hungry, even that kisra is good. But one should not really. I've seen in Africa. I've been myself at a place where the African kids were being taught the Quran, and they were given bread to encourage them to come to the class, and an orange. And I've seen devastating poverty, really, in South Africa. How the previous regime, those whites who simply had jobs that once the apartheid system collapsed, they lost their jobs, and many of them became homeless. And you can see even those whites at the entrance to mosques, especially after Friday, seeking charity. But amongst the many people left the country and took the money with them, the wealthy. And then corruption, of course. After the end of apartheid, you still talk about corruption. Even a piece of bread. Ultimately, that's what it says. If you do not own anything, remember that not all charity is with money. Rather, it is every kind word, every act of intercession or help in a time of need, every visit you pay to a sick person, every time you attend, because really you are paying with your own time. Life is the most expensive thing that you could give. Your time is the most expensive thing that you can give, because money could be replaced. Bi-idhnillah Azza wa Jal, time will not be replaced. This is it. The moment that you spend, it will not return until the day of judgment, like the account for that minute or that day or that year or that decade, or every visit you pay to a sick person, every time you attend a funeral. In short, whenever you spend from what you can in terms of status, self, or speech in order to gladden a Muslim's heart, to bring relief, to bring joy on one level or the other. This is recorded for you as charity. The smile in itself, تبسمك في وجه أخيك صدقة. So the smile itself is charity, but one should really pay attention not to distribute the smile and you utilize the hadith that one would basically um, abuse the hadith in the way he, of course, or she distributes the smiles. There are sick people around. That's the bottom line. Be vigilant with your zakah, your prayer, and your charity regarding 5 matters. The first of these matters is secrecy. For indeed, it is mentioned in the hadith, secret charity extinguishes the Lord's wrath. Okay. And there's a longer version of the hadith really. It's إسناد حسن. صنائع المعروف تقي مصارع السوء وصدقة السر تطفئ غضب الرب وصلة الرحم تزيد في العمر. So good deeds will protect you against violent really ends, violent death. The secret charity will extinguish the the Lord's anger. And the third part is Salat al-Rahim. It's on the level of the etymology, you are reconnecting with your own Rahim, with whomever is related to you biologically. So Salat al-Rahim, it could be your sister, it could be your niece, it could be your aunt, it could be and look at me. Basically, when I spoke about the sister, the niece, the aunt. It could be your uncle, of course. It could be your brother. It could be your nephew. It depends who is really. And it doesn't have to be only when they need. This it could be having a beautiful, good relationship with your siblings, with your relatives, with your even if they are comfortable financially, you could still basically take a small gift and the most beautiful thing, do invite them to a Friday morning breakfast, Friday lunch after the Friday prayer, every now and then. It doesn't have to be a feast. The thing is simply to get together. And I have listened to scholars saying, I don't know what's the source of this, but I think it's a beautiful story that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam did not like to have, to eat on his own without guests. So literally, he would go out and look for people to share a meal with them. We mentioned basically relatives, but it could be also friends. It could be, it's beautiful to get together. Today, many of us, I would say, we have larger places, living rooms, dining rooms, large tables, many chairs, plenty of utensils. The kitchens are large. The fridge is full with food, but we don't invite people to share a meal with us. That's sad. That's very sad. That's very sad. So the first of these matters is secrecy, because when you do it, in discreetly, this is what it means. Discreet, really. Uh, when you do the discreet, because it does not offend people. You, if it's really an institution, you have a choice. You are trying to give charity to a hospital, to a university. You have a choice to do it public or simply in private, and private is better, unless you are trying to encourage people to do the same. That's one thing, and you are sincere about it. But if it's really a needy family, you never disclose that. You never do it public. Don't take pictures the way some charities do today. They will line up children and they will take pictures of them and they publish them. I think this is offensive. I think this is offensive. Okay. The one who gives charity with his right hand while the left hand does not know what the right hand is giving, is one of the seven people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shade on the day when there is no shade except his shade. Okay. سبعة يظل الله في ظله يوم لا ظل إلا ظله. And one of them is the one who gives the charity without being known, discreetly. وقد قال الله تعالى وإن تخفوها وتؤتوها الفقراء فهو خير لكم. If you hide it and give it to the poor, then it is better for you. You hide it from the sight of other people. You just do it discreetly. By this you are relieved of ostentation, riya. And this is really otherwise it will feed the one's ego if it's done publicly, and that would be destructive. So by this you are relieved of ostentation, which truly overpowers the ego, and is destructive. When a person is put in his grave, it turns into the form of a snake within his heart. That is, it causes pain as a snake causes pain. Similarly, stinginess, bukhl, turns into the form of a scorpion. The purpose of all kinds of giving is deliverance from the base quality of stinginess. If it is combined with ostentation, it is as if the person has made the scorpion nourishment for the snake. Hence, he is not relieved from the scorpion, but the strength of the snake is increased, since every one of the destructive attributes in the heart takes nourishment and draws strength from responding to its circumstances. The second matter is to be aware of largesse, the reality of which is that you regard yourself as doing the poor person a good turn and being gracious to him. And uh, the second matter, and of course we talk about al-man, ولا تمنن تستكثر يمنون. uh, um, the transliteration of man, it's a mistake. So rather than the ANN, it should be man. It should start with, I think it should start with M, obviously. أن تحذر من المن، وحقيقة أن ترى نفسك محسن الفقير متفضلا عليه. And one should never be in such a position. We still have a page and a half in in reading the zakah and charity, and I think rather than brushing through these the last few paragraphs, I would like to simply postpone reading the rest. Suffice it for this lecture, inshallah, and maybe we'll just explain the last few paragraphs tomorrow بإذن الله عز وجل إن شاء الله. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.